Hey guys, today we are going to be making a API request via Apache's HTTP client in Java to a CoinMarketCap API, which is a cryptocurrency, one of the top cryptocurrency APIs for retrieving data on different cryptocurrencies, their current stock market details, etc., etc. So the API we're going to be using today is called CoinMarketCap. It's a really nice, scalable, free API, but they also have a pro version if you want to use that as well. So this API is trusted by a number of resources and it's very easy to integrate, which is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be focusing mainly on the back end of this project. Obviously, this project can have a front end, it could be implemented into an app, a website, etc. But today we're just going to be focusing on creating an API with creating a basically HTTP client type thing in a terminal based application in Java that will pull from the API, and then after the API then we'll just display the information, and we won't parse the JSON or do anything like that. We're just going to be mainly focusing on getting the data from the API and into the terminal. It can be raw, so we'll be using HTTP request for this. And here I'm going to there are many different methods you could go about this. I'm using Apache's HTTP client, and the editor I'm going to be using today is IntelliJ, but you could use whatever Java editor you have. Eclipse, NetBeans, anything would work fine. So as you can see, I haven't installed the Maven dependency for Apache because I didn't create a Maven project, but you can do that as well. Here I just had a lib folder and just downloaded the HTTP client jar off the internet. So you can do that. I'll leave the link to the jar file on the in the description. Extract it and then put it in this lib folder, and then you should be good to go. Either way works fine. So anyway, before we actually get to the implementation, I'm just going to quickly show the API documentation for this uh, API. So this is the API dashboard. If you would just go to coinmarketcap.com, sign up, create an account, and it's completely free. You could use Google or whatever you have for it. And then once you sign in, you should be given in your dashboard where you have your credits, your request log, and then you should have an API key. And then you can just copy that key and display it there. So in this case, I'll just annotate this is what you're gonna want to have, or what you're gonna want to copy there. So in that case, here, this is our API request log. As you can see, I've made a few requests when I was testing this API, and I've actually used it in real-time scenarios. And from my actual experience, it's a really good API to use, as it's, as I said before, scalable and easy to integrate with their premium plans. You can see on the side you have plans and billing, and you could upgrade to premium. And then down here you have their documentation, which I've also opened here. This basically lets you know of all the endpoints that they have, the different functions of their API. So there are obviously lots of things you could do with this. There's metadata. You could retrieve the metadata of a currency, like the logo, everything. You could return the stock charts. But in this case, what we're going to be retrieving today is, if you'll go into the documentation, I'll leave this linked also in the description. So if you open the documentation and you would scroll down, there'd be a little drop down called cryptocurrency. You would take that, and then what you would do is click said cryptocurrency, and then here you have a bunch of endpoints for cryptocurrencies and as you can see, this category has 17 API endpoints in which you can fetch anything from the quotes, the listings, stock details, price performance, logos, images, any trending trends, anything basically on cryptocurrencies. And in terms of what we're going to be looking at today is the listings. So what we're going to be looking at would be the listings part. Let's clear this. All right. So what we're going to be looking at here is this part in particular, the listings. Now, here there are two ways you could go about this, either historical or latest. I personally prefer if you are using a real-time stock app, or if you're using this functionality for a real-time stock app, I would suggest you do a latest, as it provide as every single request made, it provides, I think it was what, 24 hours or within 1 hour, the latest changes in the stock market, which gives you a better idea of what, it gives your users a better idea of what would be going on in the stock market. And you could use the historical listings for, let's say you wanted to monitor how crypto has been doing over the years or over the months. So in this case, in today's tutorial, we're going to be using listings. So I'm just going to go ahead and click that, and it'll just open up the listings endpoint. And as you can see here, this is a GET request, and this is the server URL or the API endpoint that we're going to be fetching today. And this is the sample response. So you have data, and then you just have Bitcoin, then you have all these currencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then it lists more, but then it stops here because it won't display all the cryptocurrencies. It would in the actual request, but in the sandbox it wouldn't. So anyway, here these are the different things that you can get from the API listing latest. You can get market cap, the symbol, the name, and then you can get the price, total supply, volume. Then volume you can get over the 30 days, 1 week, or 1 day. So in this case, the endpoint is basically following the API plans. These are basically the different plans. As I said before, you have basic, hobbyist, startup, standard, professional, and then enterprise. So anyway, instead of that, what we're going to do is just go ahead, and I'm going to copy this link, and I'll also leave the API endpoint in the description. So now what I'm going to do is open up my IntelliJ editor. I've gone ahead and created the project cryptocurrency tracker. And what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna create a comment that says API and API endpoint. Then we'll just copy paste from here so we don't have to go back to the documentation. Alright, so now what we're gonna do is actually start implementing our API request via the actual Apache HTTP client that we have. So first of all, what I'm gonna do is initialize my API key as a variable private, and I've already shown you how we can get the API key, private string, and we got the API key. Alright, and then it's equal to, then this is my API key, but then you can obviously use whichever one you would have. And let me go back to the documentation. Alright, so here, this is what we have. So here, in the API key, let's go back to our developer console. So here, this is my key, so I'll just copy this and then go here, and I will paste it there. Alright, so now that you're gonna do the same thing but with your API key. Once you've done this, then what we're gonna do is just initialize a variable for the actual endpoint. So we'll just string URI is equal to the endpoint, which actually this is the endpoint. So I'm just gonna copy and paste this. C Control V. Alright. That's the endpoint. Now, what we're gonna do is actually implement the parameters for what we would have. We're gonna set a few parameters that this endpoint takes, which is three main parameters: the start, the limit of how many we want to display. We'll keep it at a pretty high number, but we won't do too much, or else we would overload the console. But I don't think, or have a memory, then we would suffer memory issues. But even if after the third parameter is the currency, so in this case we're going to convert to US